Hello everyone.
Welcome to Procure. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about pitfalls of bypassing procurement. I think we all hear this every day that some department has bypassed procurement's policies and gone and done something, and they often have different excuses for it, whether it is we needed something urgently yesterday, or there is only one supplier who can provide this. There are always excuses and reasons for people to do something. But procurement complains about it very often, but don't think so that a lot of people sit back and say, okay, how can we change this narrative? How can we control this narrative? I think this is something we are going to talk about today. We're going to share our experiences on how we've brought a shift in this mindset. How have we gone away from policy conversations to value conversations? So let me start by asking Nishish. Nishish, have you faced this experience that a stakeholder has bypassed your policies and has gone and bought something, or doesn't want to follow certain rule in your policy book? Have you experienced that?
My short answer to it, absolutely yes.
And how do you feel about it? What is your opinion and how do you go about changing this narrative?
Yeah, so this is something that many of the procurement professionals go through, and what we want to discuss today is the why of it. And before I share my opinion on the why, I just wanted to test a little on the hypothesis whether procurement is a value creator, right? And when I think of it, one of the story that I remember was an interaction with a senior leader from the commercial organization, and we were having a discussion, and I said, what is the biggest challenge, or where are you spending most of your time? And he said, I spend the maximum time with the procurement professionals from my customers organization.
Wow.
And that got me thinking that for the sales colleague, if they want a sparring partner, who better than the procurement colleagues from within the organization? So their procurement can bring in value in different shapes and form, right? I was talking to a leader, and he said, for a startup, procurement is like an intelligence function, which is bringing the intel by talking to the suppliers and what the industry is going through, what are the latest mega trends in the industry. So procurement can assume different roles and create value. And I am very, very convinced that there is a value which procurement brings. And that, now moving on to the question which you asked, that why is it happening and what actions did I take? One of the things which I discussed with my team is that we have to shift from looking at procurement as a desk job to it being a field job. So the procurement team members have to make sure that they go out there, speak to the stakeholders, spend time understanding the business priorities, and to make sure that whatever they do speaks to the business strategy. So that was one thing which, or that was one of the change which I made to the team and our working culture, and it had a fantastic outcome, and we saw a lot of improvement in the traction from stakeholders where they were engaging and coming to the procurement.
Oh no, that's a very interesting take, going and understanding what the business does.
Yes, and I know that you are also very passionate about this topic, so it will be good to understand what has been your experience and how you look at it.
So in my experience, I feel that procurement keeps focusing on policy conversation. I think if we shift this a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of starting the conversation with policy, if we start talking about value creation, right? Going to a stakeholder and understanding what is their problem. That will enable you to have the right conversation, to solve the problem which is causing them to bypass you, right? Why does the business think that you don't add value? Because you're probably not talking with numbers, or you're not talking the right language. I think these are some of the enablers. If I go and instead of saying that my policy states you have to do this, if I go and ask my stakeholder, hey, you're trying to achieve this, or you're trying to run this event, or you're trying to buy these services. Can you let me know what are you going to use these services for? I mean, that's an amazing starting point. Because when I start listening carefully to what the stakeholder is saying, when I start hearing the challenges and the problems in them trying to procure it, or trying to deliver it in a certain manner, that's when I can give my input and say, well, I've worked for similar projects with other departments, and here is the intelligence. This is what you were talking about earlier. We have that intelligence where we can go and share those with the stakeholders and shift from procuring or managing the policy to managing the problem. Become a problem solver, add value, let them see what you can do. If I narrate this with a specific example, I would say that we had a particular department that we were working with, who would very often either give us a single source or would say that only one supplier can meet my need in a particular category, right? We really struggled with it. We did not know what to do with it. Policy did not work, going to management did not work. None of the usual parameters that procurement takes worked in this scenario. So what we did was we went back, we actually sat down with the business to understand their category. At the same time, we went back and carefully analyzed the category. We started to dig into what are we spending on, what are we buying, how much are we buying, what is the frequency of buying it, and on a daily basis, how is the pattern changing, right? So when we did that, we were in a good command to speak to the department. We started understanding their problems and addressing them in a non-conventional way, which means instead of only talking about policy, running an RFP, getting 3 quotations, we tried to solve the problems at a scope of work stage, right? So I think that is where we often go wrong. We try to solve the problems or bring in the policy when we are actually in the market getting the quotations, and the department doesn't really want to work with us because they will see us as somebody who's administrating the policy, going and getting us quotations, and their job is done. Show them the value and they would work with you. I mean, this is a mantra that I have worked with and it's always worked for me. I worked with stakeholders, got the insights, always gone to them proactively, even before getting any project or a stage where bypassing can happen. I very often go to the department and say, hey, just wanted to catch up. I've looked at how you're spending in the last month, just to let you know, we see a problem with this supplier, or, this supplier is getting acquired. Or we see that, your purchases of X product or X services is increasing very frequently in the last quarter. Is this something which is going to continue? Then we can go back and renegotiate our contracts. So, having the proactive conversation helps the business understand that you are interested in them.
I fully agree. And by talking to some of these stakeholders, you will understand what the end customer wants. And hence you will be able to get the right suppliers on board, which help the organization in creating products or services which the end customer will appreciate and value. So having that dialogue with the stakeholder, making sure that you step out of your comfort zone, go engage with your stakeholders, become very critical. Especially in one of the episodes, we do talk about disruptions and how they are omnipresent. And if we want to make sure that our customers feel safe, they like the experience of working with our organization, then we have to make sure that we have the right suppliers. And understanding of who the right supplier is will come from when we engage our stakeholders and understand the business needs better.
No, agree, absolutely agree. And talking with numbers is so important, right?
Yeah.
Because then the stakeholder understands that, you have done your job. You understand what's happening with the business. And that automatically enables a lot of conversation. So I think keeping in mind all of these factors, from speaking the language of your stakeholder, paying attention to details as to what the business needs or what are their challenges, will help you make that transition, control the narrative, rather than just telling the department that, this is the policy, this is what you have to do. Because that's, from a human perspective, it's very difficult to control that or enforce that on everybody. So try some of these tricks that we're proposing today, and If you would like any more conversations around this, get in touch with us. Do like, subscribe, and leave a comment for us. And have a good day.
Bye.